Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Friday, August 27th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. We start with news today that the tragedy unfolding in Afghanistan has now hit very close to home because a man from northern Ohio who was there serving in the military is one of the people who has been confirmed to have been killed in the attacks at the Kabul airport. U.S. Navy Corpsman Maxton William Sovia, a service member in his early 20s, was among those killed in the Kabul attack on Thursday. His mother confirmed his death with our 3 News Mark Namick. She also provided his photo, which you can see if you would like to at WKYC.com, and the family is now asking for privacy. Our news partners at WTOL in Toledo say that he was a 2017 graduate of Edison High School. President Joe Biden addressed the country on Thursday, and he said regarding the attack that actions will be taken against those responsible. He said, "We will not forgive, we will not forget, we will hunt you down and make you pay." That attack on Thursday in Kabul near the airport killed at least 13 U.S. troops and 95 Afghanistan residents. That's according to the latest update today. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine today has ordered all American flags to be flown at half-staff in honor of the lives lost in the Kabul attack. This also includes Ohio flags, and those will have to be flown at half-staff at public buildings and grounds until sunset on Monday, August 30th. Here in Northeast Ohio, we know that the pandemic has hit a lot of people very hard, and so there have been resources made available to those people. Well, 7 Northeast Ohioans have now been indicted on federal charges for allegedly fraudulently obtaining those pandemic unemployment insurance benefits for a total payout of almost $300,000, more than $290,000. Now, according to court documents, these 7 people have been indicted on charges of mail fraud and conspiracy to commit mail fraud and wire fraud charges. They are listed on WKYC.com if you'd like to see the people who have been named. 6 of them are from Cleveland. 1 of them is from the Willowick area. Now, we do not have the latest COVID-19 numbers today, but Ohio Director of the Department of Health, Dr. Bruce Vanderhoff, is addressing Ohio now about COVID-19 and hospitalizations. As soon as we have those COVID-19 numbers, those will go up on WKYC.com. We'll be sure to have that information for you. Remember, yesterday there were more than 5,000 new COVID-19 cases. But here's one takeaway from Dr. Vanderhoff so far. There's been a lot of conversation about in-person schooling, especially with these case numbers so high. Well, the Ohio Department of Health is confirming they do recommend in-person learning 5 days a week this school year. Now, they mentioned that some students may be anxious about returning to the classroom, but Dr. Manning Courtney of Cincinnati Children's Hospital explains that with proper precautions, in-person learning is safe and important. You can get more details on that on WKYC.com, but this is something we've heard over and over again from Governor Mike DeWine. He says he's recommending that students really think about, not just students, but that school districts really think about mandating masks in the classroom, particularly in those age groups where the vaccine is not available yet against COVID-19. And does remind parents that even if your school doesn't require a mask for students, that you can send your student to school with a mask. Speaking of requirements for schooling, Kent State University will now be requiring a COVID-19 vaccine for all students and non-union employees. This is the latest higher education to implement a COVID-19 vaccine requirement. Announcing the news today, President Todd Diacon said in a press release, here's a quote from him: "As the Delta variant drives a rapid increase in COVID-19 cases across Ohio, we must act for the health and safety of our Kent State family and the Northeast Ohio communities in which our campuses are located." Lots of satellite campuses, by the way, for Kent State University. There's one in Stark County down in Canton and several throughout the area. Now, this vaccine requirement at Kent State will be implemented in 3 phases throughout the fall semester, with all students, faculty, and staff being required to be fully vaccinated by December 20th. That's the day. Now, remember, to be fully vaccinated means you need to be 2 weeks after that second dose of COVID-19 vaccine if you get the Pfizer, which is now being marketed as Comirnaty vaccine, or the Moderna vaccine. Remember, that Pfizer vaccine is the one that has already been granted full FDA approval. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a single dose. So again, 2 weeks post a single dose of Johnson & Johnson, since that's the only one required, or 2 weeks post Pfizer, also known as Comirnaty, or Moderna vaccine. You can read a complete breakdown of those phases at wkyc.com. And reminder, yes, Pfizer, also known as Comirnaty, is the only vaccine that has full FDA approval. Moderna applied months after Pfizer for that full approval, and Johnson & Johnson is still in the process of getting that together. Kent State is the second Ohio-based university to require the vaccine. Ohio State University was the first to announce it on Tuesday. Now, something that people are searching and wondering about is if your employer can require you to get the COVID vaccine. And yes, the answer is yes. I addressed this in a Legally Speaking segment. There are really only two. There is a third possible exemption, but the two main exemptions are medical or religious exemptions against the vaccine. And there's also a moral exemption, for example, if you're vegan in certain cases. Now, that doesn't apply to necessarily these vaccines, but if you have a medical or a religious exemption, that's something that you'll have to show or prove if you're trying to make that case. But yes, legally, your lawyer, legally speaking, I am a lawyer, legally speaking, as a lawyer, your employer can require you to get a COVID-19 vaccine. Now let's turn the conversation to sports. Here is something else that's making people's heads scratch today. The Cleveland Cavaliers have reportedly agreed to a 3-team deal that will send hometown guy Larry Nance Jr. to Portland and bring in Bulls forward Lauri Markkanen. Now, the deal was first reported by Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium, and according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, the Cavaliers will require Markkanen, and Chicago will receive Derrick Jones Jr., Portland's 2022 lottery-protected first-round pick, and the Cavs' 2023 second-round pick. The Blazers will then get 28-year-old Larry Nance Jr. So Markkanen, the guy coming here to Cleveland, restricted free agent. He will be a sign and trade deal. That's according to Wojnarowski. He'll receive a 4-year, $67 million deal. He's 7 feet tall. He's a native of Finland. He averaged 13.6 points and 5.3 rebounds per game for the Bulls in the 2020-2021 season. Shot 40% from the three-point range. He will be part of a reshaped situation for the Cavaliers that includes first-round draft pick Evan Mobley from University of Southern California. Fight on. Go Trojans. And also Jarrett Allen, who the team signed to a long-term deal this summer. Now, Larry Nance, he spent 4 seasons playing for the Cavs, his hometown team, who the Cavs acquired from the Lakers in 2018. He's a Summit County native, and he is the son of Cavs legend Larry Nance Sr. He only played 35 games in the 2020-2021 season due to injuries. He had a fractured thumb for part of that. Now, he's been in the NBA for 7 years. He's averaged 8.3 points and 6.7 rebounds per game. But beyond the athletics of it, what a loss for the community. If you remember, it was Larry Nance Jr. over the past season who wore a local business t-shirt to every single game to raise awareness for that business. And then after the game, he auctioned off his game-worn jersey and then gave the proceeds to that local business. Just a great advocate for the community here in Northeast Ohio. So regardless of what happens on the court, he'll definitely be missed here in the Northeast Ohio community. Now, taking a look at what's going on with the Cleveland Browns. It was earlier this month that ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reported that the Cleveland Browns had started extension talks with cornerback Denzel Ward. Well, it doesn't look like that's going to happen now heading into the season. Earlier this week, he published an update on the NFL's top extension-eligible players. A lot of that conversation was about our Cleveland Browns quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Again, something at this point that we're not expecting to see a long-term extension for him before the start of the season, coming up very, very quickly. It's looking like it's also probably not going to happen for Denzel Ward. Now, that doesn't mean that Denzel Ward isn't going to stick around. He still has 2 years on his rookie deal, but it just doesn't look like that deal is going to get done before the September 12th season opener on the road in the rematch game against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. Now, speaking earlier this season, Denzel Ward, who is from Macedonia, by the way, said he would love to spend his entire career here in Northeast Ohio. He said, in a perfect world, I would definitely want to be a Brown for my entire career. Here's what he said. I'm from Cleveland, the team that drafted me, the team that believed in me coming out of college. I take a lot of pride and respect in that, and I just want to give my all to this team. It's definitely a place I want to be. I enjoy being a Cleveland Brown and giving them everything I got. And I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again right now. It is good to hear that players want to be here in Cleveland. Very excited for that season opener coming up in just a couple short weeks. Now, here's a story to make you feel good before we go. Franmil Reyes surprised a Tribe fan who is battling breast cancer. Here's what happened. Her name is Jessica Atwood, and Franmil Reyes heard about her story. She was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. Well, it's got special meaning for her because she lost her mom in 2016, Judy May, to breast cancer. So now she's battling it herself. And Franmil Reyes earlier had tossed a ball and her husband caught it, and there was meaning to that because he had heard their story. Then, at his next at bat, he said to himself, this is what he said publicly after the fact. He said, "When I threw up the ball, I came out to bat and I said, 'Please God, let me hit this for Jessica.'" He wasn't expecting a home run necessarily, but he wanted to do something big. He did hit a home run, and as he was rounding third, he found her in the stands. He made eye contact with her and he pointed at her, just really making her feel special in that moment. And then after the game, she and her family taken out onto the field. They got to meet him. They went home with pictures, baseballs, gloves, bats, and all kinds of mementos, something that'll help her push through those hard times. And it was really, really meaningful for her and something special. All right, that's it for your 3 News Now update today. I will see you next on What's New. I'll be live from the Flats West Bank today at Tennis in the Land, showing you what's happening with pro women's tennis coming here to Cleveland for the first time. Very excited about that. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Here's a little note for you. I am off next week, so you will not see me next week, but I'll be back on Monday, September 6th, rested and recharged, and that's when I'll be bringing you more 3 News Now.